The LATAM group has been undergoing rather substantial changes and reorganization in the last few pandemic years, which is probably the main reason why Herpa hasn't made any new LATAM models for quite a while. But today we go back to the year 2017 when Herpa made this model. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 787-9 of LATAM Chile. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we have the LATAM branding. As this model was made back in 2017, Herpa still had this box design where we did get an image of the aircraft in real life, and then underneath we were provided with all the information through a web link. This web link, however, does not work anymore. And here she is, the Boeing 787-9 in the standard livery of LATAM. Herpa has over the years made quite a few LATAM aircraft models, but following the restructuring of the airline, all A350s have left the fleet, but the airline does still fly around with the Dreamliner, and for some reason I never got around to reviewing this aircraft model, and as I then got a request for reviewing it, well, here we are. So now let's see what Herpa has actually managed to do with this aircraft model that has now been produced about 6 years ago. And as always, we start our tour around the aircraft model with a look at the tail section, where beyond the vertical stabilizer have the LATAM color scheme. We do also have a bit of printed details on the horizontal stabilizer. On the fuselage, we then have the aircraft type specification alongside the Dreamliner branding, and of course also the full registration code of the aircraft. Towards the very tail of the aircraft, we then also find a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft and across the fuselage, we then find the writing of LATAM and of course also the LATAM branding. Here we also find a One World logo, of which LATAM is a full member. But that's pretty much all the detailing we get. This model was of course produced long before Herpa started adding any additional printed details on their aircraft models. So let's move on to the cockpit section, because here we find the cockpit windows with the window wipers. The circular marking around the nose cone has been added here as well, and we have the emergency hatch for the cockpit just above the cockpit windows. The engine nacelles have been kept in all white, just as most of the fuselage, but do have the silver leading edge printed on, but that's the only print we will find here. And just a few more markings here would really have benefited the overall look of the model, but that was the standard from Herpa Wings back in the day. The physical detailing, however, is just as excellent back then as it is today, with the chevron nozzles and of course also the engine fan blades. From the engine nacelles we can move on to the wings, which we should definitely also take a closer look at, starting off at the top side, where we can see the different flaps, slats and spoilers have been carved out somewhat nicely, but kind of disappear a little bit in the white paint. But we do have the marking as to where to walk on the wing and the full registration code of the aircraft. That we can also find on the underside of the wings. The landing gear is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their Dreamliner aircraft models in scale 500. A good thing for the main landing gear, which looks solid. Also the front landing gear looks pretty alright, but I am missing some printed details here. However, just behind the front landing gear we do on the belly of the aircraft have the LATAM branding once more. And one thing I also like to show on the Dreamliner mode from Herpa Wings, because it is quite genuinely made very well, are the ram air intakes. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft and here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner in the standard livery of LATAM from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Overall, it is quite nice, but of course it is very much missing any details. Now, I'm not specifically mad about this aircraft model for missing details, because that's just the standard that Herpa had back in the day, but it is just incredibly lazy work from Herpa Wings on this aircraft model, because it could have been so much more with just a little bit more effort. So even though we barely have any details on the aircraft model, the print quality itself is actually rather good. Another reason why you might consider this model for having it in your collection is simply the really brilliant physical detailing of it. Herpa is doing a solid job with their Dreamliners, and this model is no exception. And then the final point, of course, being that this is the only LATAM Dreamliner that has been made in scale 500 so far. So if you want to have a LATAM Dreamliner in your fleet, this is what you've got. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like. And of course, if you are new around here, you're always welcome to hit subscribe. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.